And we'll get him the link and he'll join.
Yeah, he started streaming right after we started doing the Zero AD marathon.
All right, we should be live.
How many hours was the
We'll
zero
get him the
Zero
link
AD
and he'll
marathon?
join.
We quit at 5:30. Started.
Oh my god!
So it was like 7:30 to 5:30 in the morning, 7:30 in the evening to 5:30 in the morning.
So we are live on YouTube. Those of you that are already hanging out in the YouTube chat, would you please let me know, can you hear me? Which I know you can hear me because I'm on a different stream and I can monitor that. But can you hear these guys, which include Hip Dad,
yep,
Dark Zero, Stefan, who usually is sporting some kitten ears, but he's off camera right now. Guys. Wow.
Yeah, it's a YouTube thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing. I think it's a me thing.
Well, they're saying refresh, and they're saying they're stuck.
Oh, yeah. For those of you that were watching the stream, yeah, which I could.
I mean,
tell those guys
we should be coming through okay. So
yeah,
I'm good. I'm drunk.
Are you drunk?
No.
Okay.
I lost my words for a second, but I'm on my good ISP. I'm not on the bad one.
So I am not sure what's going on here.
You're settling down a little bit.
Yeah. It is not good though. The speed is not good at all. It's
like 2 megabits going at
you're
2
like
kilobits.
a fuzzy Picard right now.
Nice one, if that. Picard, yeah.
He's gonna hurt me now. Make it
all
so.
Right. All right. That was weird. I'm back though.
Okay, cool.
You're looking better. You're looking much better.
No, I'm monitoring the network speed, and there for about 3 minutes. I mean, it just went to crap.
And
it went from like 3 megs a second to 0 for like 3 minutes straight. Technically, I was still connected to the internet, but there was like no speed to it. Single digit kilobits per second. So I'm sure I looked great on YouTube.
Welcome to Lebanon.
Yeah. Well, the one thing about the U.S., we really have horrible internet. It's like third world internet. Yeah, it's
You're
really
talking in my presence. You're saying that in my presence?
Yes.
You haven't seen third world internet.
When power is working for you, you have better internet than I have.
Yeah. Yep. I'm lucky I get 8 down.
By the way, that T-shirt is from the place I used to work at, iStyle.
Yep.
Cool.
Memory.
Let me try to send Big Pod another email. That's actually what I was going to do before things just went crazy there. So,
by the way,
what have you guys been doing in the world of Linux while I write an email?
I just wanted to say I watched your latest video about installing AUR packages manually, locally. Mm-hmm. You forgot one thing in the Make PKG. They can change the packager if they wanted to. If they were building for their own repositories, there's a section in the makepkg.conf that says packager. If you forget to do that, it's going to say unknown packager. That's for people who are sharing their repositories.
Yeah, if they're sharing it, yeah.
Yeah,
but
like me.
I've made videos in the past of me making my own package repository. So that video was mainly for people just
installing from local for themselves.
Right, just doing it themselves. Yeah.
But it was a good video. This is a very helpful video for people who keep annoying my ass. How do I build from AUR?
Yeah, I didn't go into all the details about maintaining your own repository, whether locally or on GitHub or GitLab. I did videos about that in the past, and that would have made that video much longer.
Yeah, you have to stay within. You have to stay within the time limit.
Yeah, not that it's difficult. It's just hard to. There's a lot to explain.
Yeah,
once you start getting into stuff like that.
Like the video I did about the libet vita nut issue. A lot of people came at me. A lot of people came at me telling me it's not an issue. It's not the way they were intended to be used. like theming applications. They were not supposed to be themed. I was like, I call it an issue because that's how users will perceive the thing.
Yeah.
It's an issue with theming. When I did
I'm
that,
glad you.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned this because right before the stream started, you told me that you were going to bring up this topic, and it's weird because it's almost like we all run into the same kind of issues at the same time. I almost made a video here in the last month discussing the similar stuff with GNOME and the whole stop theming my apps movement that they have.
Oh, yeah.
And it just comes across as arrogant. It really, like the whole attitude they have toward the rest of the community is,
but
it really, and I like GNOME. I like the desktop environment.
So do I.
But it's the people around GNOME really have to understand sometimes what they do is not the best look for their project. You know, they're doing more harm to their project sometimes with the way they act on like bug trackers and forums and things because, well, I'll just leave it at that. Dark Zero, I'll let you speak for your issues there.
Because when I speak from.
Your volume went way low on us there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Much better.
Okay. So I was like, from a distro maintainer's point of view, I was like, I am distributing 0G the way GNOME was supposed to be, without theming, without touching the apps, without doing anything. So I'm not stepping on your shoes, GNOME devs. I'm just telling the people out there because agree or disagree. The users are going to use their computers the way they want, and 99%, if not 100%, of the people who use GNOME theme it. So stop with that nonsense, and I'm just showing them how to do it the right way. And unfortunately, most users perceive it as an issue. That's why I called it an issue, because they attacked me, telling me it's not an issue. It's not the way our apps were supposed to be used, not themed, stock. I was like, I'm not messing with your identity. Users are. I'm shipping my distro blank. So,
well, I know they want distro maintainers and package maintainers. They want those folks not to mess
we don't.
with.
We don't.
Right.
We don't. I took the safe route and I followed their guidelines. And I was
but the end user, the regular Linux desktop user,
is free to do whatever
they're going to mess with it, right?
They're free to do whatever they want. I told them, agree or disagree, they're going to do whatever they want. Henceforth, they're going to theme GNOME. So in this video, it really hit a nerve in the GNOME world, this video. So, because on Fostodon, attack after attack after attack. I just was explaining to users, the only way to theme GTK4 libadwaita apps is by installing the themes from the GitHub, because they have a specific flag for their install script that is -L for libadwaita. Most themes do. Other themes implemented the patch within the theme itself, but most themes don't bother with that. They include an install flag to their install.sh script. So by extension, no distro will be able to ship those kind of themes patched by default out of the box. You will have to take 30 seconds out of your time to git clone that repo and run install.sh-L and the color that you want from that theme, because you have multiple colors to each theme. But I showed them, and that's all I did in my video. It was 17 minutes long. I made it 10 minutes because I babbled on long enough. So as soon as I put up that video, the GNOME people attacked me on Fostodon. They were like, they shoved that link that you were talking about in my face. Don't theme my app.
Yes. And I came across it. I was looking at some GNOME related videos to make, and I was pointed to that particular website, the don't theme my app.com or whatever it is.
It's don't theme my.app.
And it's just the whole site just comes across as, again, it's just arrogant. Just whatever.
I have a bit of a different perspective on this.
Well, BigPod works with a lot of folks that work on GNOME and Wayland and Pipewire. He loves the Red Hat folks in general. So BigPod, go ahead and stick up for them.
I'm not gonna stick up for them. I'm gonna say that in a part they are right. I think in a way Linux has it wrong. Teaming shouldn't be system specific. We shouldn't be installing teams like that, like we are. But apps should have teaming options. The fact that they don't include some kind of teaming support, if they ask to be stock, they should have teamings. They should have internal teaming support.
Right.
They should
That's
be either
what
they
people
should have
don't
their
want.
own teams, or they should have assistant for installable teams.
Yes,
They should
I agree
have
with that. I agree with that.
They have to have a system to allow people to do some customization. It can't be just ship, add Weta, and that's all you can use.
But if you lock them out, users are going to use unorthodox methods.
But at the same time, I'm gonna say at the same time, most cases, enough is for it to have light and dark team. That in most cases that is enough for most people. Let's be
for
clear.
most users, yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because the way I was using GNOME was 0 themes. You know me, I'm a KDE person, and I love to customize and I love to tweak things. But I did a challenge. I challenged myself to use GNOME for a month, and I have had 0 complaints by just using the dark theme. Simple dark theme. I didn't customize GNOME at all. I used it as stock as it comes in 0G, just with 2 or 3 extensions enabled. That's it, to have the dock and the arc menu. But other than that, it's stock. I only added 1 plugin because I'm a distro maintainer. I'm a package builder. I need the visual confirmation that packages have been synced upstream with a green check mark and exclamation mark for the ones that haven't been synced, which Dolphin has. But Nautilus doesn't, so I had to add that plugin, but it exists. What I'm telling users is Linux is so flexible, it's amazing. Like, I had a few requirements, 2 or 3 requirements on GNOME. I was able to solve them with a few plugins. It's amazing.
I think
GNOME is super stable. It's super stable. GNOME 44 is super stable.
Amazing.
Whatever they did, it's amazing. They just fixed a few little minor bugs with the refresh thing of the folder content.
I like GNOME, the desktop environment. It's just
amazingly stable.
It's everything else around GNOME, like the GNOME Foundation.
Yeah.
There's certain aspects to that.
People around it are very opinionated.
Yes, they're very opinionated, and they're very and they make their opinion known.
Yeah.
By using a lot of cuss words. I don't know why.
At this point, I tend to just separate people and software. People around the software completely separate them.
Yeah, that's why I don't report anything to anyone.
And to be honest, that behavior that some of the GNOME team demonstrates online, that's kind of angry and they use a lot of curse words and they're just really nasty.
Ugh.
You see that actually all over free and open source software. Unfortunately, I can name several very popular programs that many of us have installed on our machines right now that the lead maintainer of that piece of software is a complete and total a-hole.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but we all probably have some ideas.
Here have one. Absolutely.
May I pick up on a positive example? I recently tried Alma Linux for server usage, and those guys have the most wholesome subreddit I've ever seen in a free and open source software community. Yeah. Like, somebody was asking, I want to play Tax Racer, and they're like, if you ask on the Arch Linux forums, how could I install Tax Racer? It's not in the repository. On the Alma Linux Reddit, somebody directed them towards a Flatpak. So there are certain things that make that distro really friendly in that kind of perspective.
A lot of it stems from these projects always take on the personality of the lead.
Yeah.
Yep.
If the lead is a nice guy and is laid back and is friendly, he's got the right attitude, it comes across with the rest of the team typically.
I'm gonna say this way, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Depending on how the person is
handling things.
If they interact this way with community, yes. If they interact internally inside a project, that's a different thing.
To a certain degree.
Take for example Linus Torvalds. He acts fairly well mannered toward community, toward outsiders directly out of the project. But
he doesn't.
Inside the project, inside Linux, you're gonna get that curse words that
right. And Linus doesn't have to interact with the general community like a distro maintainer typically would. Linus is mainly interacting with folks, even though they're freely contributing to the kernel with patches. Most of them work for a large corporation. Most of them work for Google or for Meta or Microsoft, things like that. So he treats them in a very different way than he would treat.
He treats them as a project.
He has no problems cursing those folks.
Yeah.
And publicly shaming them sometimes and making them cry on a few occasions.
It's a public project.
Like I don't know what's wrong with Linus Torvalds these days, but there's a current bug in kernel 6.3 that causes us XFS users to have metadata loss.
Yep,
that's the recent news from Phoronix. I was like, I use XFS. What's wrong?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that'll be patched. There's so many servers around the world that use XFS. If it's a big deal, they'll get that fixed pretty quick.
The fix is included in kernel 6.4, but apparently
so it's already
it was badly backported to 6.3.3. They're starting to backport it slowly, but in 6.3.4 and onwards.
Yeah,
but it needs.
And honestly, these kinds of bugs with the kernel, they're only an issue typically for those of us on rolling releases. Like if you were just running Debian stable like you should, Dark Zero, you'd never have to worry about any of this.
I don't know if you should run Debian stable.
Or Ubuntu.
Debian stable ain't had a release in like 3 years.
If I want to run any stable LTS release, I'll be running Ubuntu.
Yep.
With GNOME, of course.
Yeah, Ubuntu with the
that would be, wouldn't that be Ubuntu?
Ubuntu, the Google Ubuntu.
Yeah,
I don't think they maintain that anymore, do they?
They're now on Debian based with Portage, as far as I remember.
Why wouldn't Chrome OS just be the official operating system for Google? Like it's just what everybody uses.
You would think.
You would think they would just eat their own dog food. Yeah, kind of like, everybody at Apple should have a MacBook, right?
But they don't. It is.
But then the employees would figure out how to lock each other out.
That's true.
No, it's not just that. It's right tool for right job, essentially.
Oh.
I could understand that. It's probably especially developer tools. Is that a big deal on Chrome OS?
The big deal is like Chrome OS is a lot more locked down. It's you can't mess with things like Google engineers have to. You have to make certain compromises with Chromebooks, while with their version of whatever the Frankenstein thing they run right now, you don't have to make compromise.
Frankenstein distros have become all the rage here recently with things like Vanilla OS and Blend OS and
those are not Frankenstein.
They're just weird, and this goes way back to Bedrock, which I never took a look at.
Bedrock is weird. Let's be clear.
Bedrock.
Vanilla is okay. Vanilla is okay. I'm still personally prefer.
It's strange. It's strange people wanting to install different packages from different Linux distribution repositories
and bloat their system because containers fill up the hard drive pretty quick.
Who cares? Let's be clear. I'm gonna quickly.
There are people. I get you don't care, Big Pot, and to be honest, I really don't care.
Yep.
But there's a large section of the Linux community that do complain about containers.
They complain about Latte Doc using 200 megabytes more than it should.
And I'm gonna say they're wrong. They're clearly wrong. Most of them probably have more storage than I do. Let's be clear.
Yeah, you have a lot less storage than what I thought you would have.
How much storage do you have, Big Bud?
In my desktop, I have a terabyte of storage.
Yeah, I was shocked.
For SSD.
That's what I have here as well. So.
That's all I have.
Am I the only one running the operating system off of a 128 gig NVMe?
At home, I have a 256 in that computer in NVMe. And to be honest, I do have to monitor the space on that computer, but that's mainly because of video files.
Yeah,
like if I, videos are
build files and ISO build files and
if you're recording videos, you need to make sure you see that hard drive space. Once it gets to like 95%, you better stop doing what you're doing and free up some space, because once it gets to 100%, the whole computer just.
But guys, I have a question for you. I have a really serious question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I solved it. We solved it. We came to an understanding, and everything is copacetic. But
copacetic, yeah, that's a nice word.
Yeah, I know my English.
That's because even us English speakers, I can't remember the last time I heard anybody use the word copacetic.
I just remembered it because my sister used to use it. But the question is, on Zero Linux, I made a decision that caused an uproar with a security conscious person and on the team. Instead of including the vanilla Nvidia drivers from the Arch repositories, I build and maintain the TKG patched version, because I have full control over these packages. I can version freeze them, so I can decide at any point not to upload the latest version. But their drivers seem to work much better than others. But here's the problem, where it caused a problem. They're on GitHub, where they do all their commits and their patching and everything. The frogging family, they're called. They don't describe their commits. They don't have documentation. They don't have a wiki. They don't have nothing. They just have an issue tracker and commits. Hundreds of thousands of commits. Like every month they do at least 100 commits. So he was like, how can you trust these people? Because they're building a driver that has kernel access, low-level access, even to your BIOS or whatever. No, BIOS is untrue, but kernel-level access, because it's a driver and kernel-level access. So
here's the thing, Big Bud, or not Big Bud, Dark Zero. Anybody that's going to complain, how can you trust Nvidia with drivers or whatever?
Because they don't explain anything.
If you bought the hardware, then you've already said I trust them.
No,
so you can't then turn around.
TKG are patching the Nvidia drivers.
So it's not the Nvidia people. I was about to say you should trust Nvidia if you bought the card.
No. Yeah. It's a group of developers on GitHub, the frogging family. They fix the drive. I say they fixed the driver.
They fixed it.
But there's no proof of that. Because all they do is apply commit after commit after commit after commit after commit, giving them nondescript titles.
And you can't audit the code in any way.
You have to be very knowledgeable. And me being not the opposite of that, I'm not knowledgeable. Right. So he was like, "How can you trust them without knowing what they do?" So the understanding we came to in the end was, instead of the Zero Linux Nvidia driver installer script only providing TKG, we provide TKG for the latest drivers, so 525 for the normal stable branch and 530 for the new features branch, and then 470 for the previous gen, and then the vanilla drivers from Arch repositories, which will hard lock them to only 900 series and upwards graphic cards, because Arch does not give you access to anything else. Only the AUR does. So I didn't want to go into if I shouldn't trust TKG, so I shouldn't trust anyone on the AUR.
Well, I would say let people make their own decisions in there.
Yeah,
Tell
that's
them,
the point.
hey, any driver you want is in the AUR.
Yeah,
go install it. If it works for you, great. If you have problems, that's on you.
That's why I included them in the script. Now they have a choice. They either have TKG or the vanilla drivers, up to them, or an option that will nuke any driver on their system and stick to Nouveau.
Yeah, I talk about that stuff later.
Recommendation is as a summit of security, or used to be a security in security. In this case, official driver should always be default.
Well, the choice is there. It's not gonna. None of the drivers are on the ISO. The user is free to choose after the install which one they want.
Well, if it's a net install and you give them a choice, whatever. Just make sure grandma. Make sure the default.
Big Pod, there is a problem, however. I did that. Anyone with 30 series and some other weirdo from some weirdo manufacturer, if they install the de facto vanilla ones from Arch, they get stuck on Nouveau for some odd reason on laptops. I'm talking not desktops, on laptops for some reason. When they install the TKG version, the exact same version number, 530, but TKG patched version, it worked just fine.
That to me,
that's weird. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Extremely strange because manufacturer should not have any effect.
No,
it shouldn't have any effect
because the card is the same. That to me is configuration issue.
It's a fresh install.
Configuration issue.
I don't know. I don't have their hardware. I don't know nothing. So
I mean, that's without that machine, that's going to be hard to.
That's why I put in parentheses TKG recommended, gaming patched, gaming optimized drivers recommended, and vanilla, no patching, no nothing, limited to 900 series and up. Up to the user to select, up to them. It's their computer. They try, and the nuke option is so they can start fresh. They uninstall anything and everything related to Nvidia. Try another driver.
I mean, ultimately, if you're giving them, they have to decide on a driver. It's not a big deal. The people that know what they want to run will pick the driver for them
previously or anything.
The problem is those who do not know.
That's where I was going. Make sure the one.
Will select the one recommended, even though they.
I recommend the TKG ones because so far
I would not.
I would not. But listen, I have included them for 2 years now on 1 year on Zero Linux, and nobody has ever complained of having issues with these drivers. 0 people complain.
Doesn't that mean they aren't issues?
I know that's a given, but less issues on my server, less people complaining about issues, the better. So I gave them the option to install vanilla. If they install vanilla and they have issues, I reply to them, try another driver, uninstall, try.
And to be honest, people that complain about NVIDIA driver issues, because I get people asking me about driver problems. It's usually, okay, whatever driver you just installed, uninstall it and install a different one.
Exactly.
And then reboot the computer and see if it works. Like, it's not like it's a crazy problem that people can't fix.
And I make it easy
even novice Linux users can figure out how to eventually get the drivers that they need.
And I make it easy for them. Instead of having to pull the Frogging family script and build them themselves, I build it for them.
The Frogging family. Where did that name come from? The Frogging family.
I don't know. TKG is the guy behind all the patching and everything. And to be honest, the reason I trust them is because I saw that Nobara uses their patches for his for the kernel, and I saw CachyOS using a lot of his kernels. I'm like, if these people are using them, and these people know more than I do, they're not gonna build a distro to hurt other people.
Well, when it comes to that kind of thing, I'm not sure Nobara is actually a top choice for that.
I mean,
doesn't Nobara disable Spectre and Metal mitigations?
Yeah, they do, and SE Linux can disable that too.
Okay, now I'm gonna explain something that most of you don't know. the newest processors, if you disable Spectre and Meltdown mitigations, you're actually making a system slower. So anything last few generations of CPU, you're actually
That is
making
true.
your
It was
CPU
documented.
slower.
It was documented. I read the article.
And by quite a big margin.
And he
Why?
has a toggle.
Because
No,
it
but
is hardware.
the nice part is with Nobara in his tool, whatever he wrote it in, I think in Rust. But there's a toggle to re-enable mitigation.
Of course, he wrote it in Rust. Why wouldn't you?
Again, security first, in my opinion.
But he gives the users a choice. If you know what CPU you have and you know that you need those mitigations back, you have a toggle in the tool.
Most people don't. Let's be clear. Most
That is
people
true.
don't.
That
That's
argument
why-
will be true forever because I'm a distro
Two
maintainer and
things.
I see that.
Most people don't, and security first. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
Just like anything, just like because it's open, it's secure. That's not true. Same should be security.
I
first.
agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Security posture should be high and should be, in my opinion, higher in open source than it is in proprietary software.
My point being is that other distros are using TKG. Why shouldn't I trust them?
That doesn't matter. Again,
well, I mean, all distros don't have to do the same thing, right? That's another thing.
But
right?
because plus, I've had the best the best compatibility with their drivers than with the ones by Nvidia. So I'm like, I have when I tell users they come to me and they say, okay, I fresh installed Zero Linux. Which Nvidia driver should I install? I ask them what GPU they have. I tell them, okay, so you have a recent one. Install the vanilla drivers. Try the vanilla drivers first. They install that. They either get stuck on a black screen or they get stuck on Nouveau and it never can activate NVIDIA for some reason. I'm like, okay,
that to me
you have
is
an option to
issue.
uninstall it. Try the TKG one, option 3. They try option 3. They send me a thank you and they're happy. That's all I know. I'm just a maintainer. I'm just reporting what I see.
Someone who does a lot of NVIDIA systems and actually maintains a distro that has an NVIDIA image. I can tell you any system I've seen with NVIDIA runs.
I know, but all I'm saying is what the experience I'm getting on my server. So I have.
Well, at the end of the day,
because you're installing things, just installing things. Of course, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times too, for bug issues, a lot of it are decisions that the user made, not necessarily that were defaults.
At the end of the day, we should remember that NVIDIA drivers are primarily made for servers and for workstations, not for gaming.
I do want to transition a little bit because I had an NVIDIA topic that I also wanted to bring up because, and this goes back to, I want to say it was about 3 or 4 months ago. I told you guys about, we had it on this chat with patrons about the rise of AI and that it was going to be a big thing. This is not going to be something that is just going to disappear, and it's going to be, I'm a little older than some of you, not as old as some others, but I remember, because I was an adult at the time, the whole .com boom of the late 90s. And the stock market and all these companies that came out of nowhere and became billion-dollar companies like overnight. You guys remember pets.com, and things like that. They were all around that. Now they all died after the crash in 2000, a lot of them, but Amazon's still around, Google's still around, a lot of those companies.
Matchmaker.com still around.
And we're seeing a new kind of .com boom, but this is going to be an AI boom. Microsoft, I told you guys a few months ago, buy as much Microsoft stock as you can. And had you done that at the time, you guys would be sitting on a pile of money right now because Microsoft stock has exploded. Nvidia last week had a 30% gain in its share price because of AI.
Yeah.
But it's going to
their stock in one day went from 300 per share to like 390 per share in one day. It's like,
let's be clear.
I didn't own any Nvidia. I did own some AMD stock, and AMD is also exploding. All these chip manufacturers, because this AI stuff's going to require a lot of silicon, a lot of chips.
And guess what? One of my when I went to Serbia, I met my cousin's husband for the first time, being an adult. And guess what? He works for NVIDIA AI.
Yeah.
And Nvidia now, because of this huge rise in their stock price in the last week, is right at a $1 trillion market cap, which is insane to think Nvidia is going to be the next $1 trillion company. Because I don't think a year ago anybody would have put them in the same league as Apple and Google and Microsoft and Amazon, but they're right there with them.
We gave
I
them the
saw that.
trillions. We gave them the
Honestly.
trillions.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I saw
all
that.
of us, yeah, we contributed.
Let's be clear. I saw that. I knew as soon as AI exploded, I knew that one of the few companies that will benefit will be Nvidia.
And this is this is not like a overnight thing because
OpenAI.
Yeah. And kind of like the whole .com bubble, it wasn't like a short-term 1 week kind of thing where all these companies, just rose in price shortly. Whatever you can buy as far as tech-related stocks, especially that have anything to do with AI, do it. Invest now. That's not financial advice, but yeah, go do it.
Financial advice. We're not financial.
I know Big Pod already owns a lot of Microsoft, though.
No, I don't. I don't do stocks. Also, I can't own Microsoft because I will need to have a brokerage account in US for that. But reason Microsoft is so good in AI is because they're ties with OpenAI, and OpenAI, as far as I heard, went to everybody and only Microsoft.
And Microsoft is actually making a deal. I'm not sure what the whole details behind it are. They recently announced that they were having some kind of partnership with AMD. For some reason related to AI. So that's partly why AMD is also doing well these days.
Yeah, and
lots of chips.
Yeah, and you know that Microsoft bought SwiftKey, the keyboard, the Android keyboard thing that is also on iOS now. Well, Bing and ChatGPT is now integrated into that keyboard if you turn it on.
Yeah,
I turn it off. I don't turn it on. Keep canceling because I keep clicking the button by mistake. But it's in there, and heck no, I'm not turning that thing on. Keep it off.
And when I made my video, this was just a few weeks back, about the importance of AI, because I wanted people to realize, hey, this is a big deal. It's going to change life. It's going to change a lot of things. The economy, like AI is a big deal. And a lot of people, I got a lot of backlash from that. People saying it's just a fad. It's going to disappear. Some people compared it to fads like cryptocurrency and NFTs, which I wanted to tell people cryptocurrency is not a fad because it's been around for over a decade.
It's hung on longer than I thought it would.
And NFTs, honestly, are not a fad either. I think people haven't realized the usefulness of things like NFTs, but that's going to be around for the future too. So a lot of people imagine things are going to disappear. They're not. That's like some of this new technology, people haven't explained properly the importance of some of it. And I think that's why the general public that gets most of their information from things like Facebook, for example, they're not aware of how important some of this stuff is.
I have a bit of a different perspective on this. I am someone who is against AI.
Indulge us.
I'm someone who is against AI. But I know it's here to stay.
Are you against AI for Terminator reasons, or
I'm against AI for human reasons. And
I'm against AI for human reasons.
The human reason is it is created by humans. Yeah. It's gonna be bad. We're bad. It's gonna be bad. Simple reality. Yeah. That's why I didn't go in AI when I had a choice.
Yeah, that I agree with. And the human flaw element.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Big Pod. If you chose to get into some kind of AI related career path, maybe you could make it better, more human like. You could improve the human experience of AI.
I actually think more human like it's actually not a good thing. It should be.
It's worse. It's actually not better. It's actually worse.
It's actually far worse.
Has to be more Spock, more like Spock.
Shots fired at humanity.
Well, Mama. More like Spock. It should have feelings, but it shouldn't have as much feelings as we do.
Should have more logic.
It shouldn't be governed by emotions and natural laws, which is what we are. We're governed by the natural laws of the thousands of years back, when we were hunters and gatherers, not when we were not now that we sit in front of computers. And we still go into wars with people. We just go into wars with people.
So yeah, you're talking wars,
and that's
not
a problem.
to get too political, but
I'm not talking that kind of wars. I'm talking wars between
AI wars. Yeah.
No, I'm talking wars of people going onto the internet and just starting to attack people for no reason.
Cyberbullying,
that kind of war.
There is a growing percentage of the internet, especially on social media, but all areas of the internet. There's a growing percentage of bots on the internet. There are some studies claiming that there might be that half the people you interact with on the internet or AI or bots, and especially on platforms like social media. If you hang out on Facebook or Twitter, you already know half those people aren't real people. You know that, right? Half the posts were not made by an actual human being.
Of course.
Yeah, and
I'll have you know. Now, Zero Linux has grown to 3% of the scripts. We went from 0% to 3% in a matter of 2 months of scripts being written by ChatGPT. And I've checked for their legitimacy, so don't worry about that. I did my research, but
I'm gonna say, like, to everybody who's using ChatGPT or any kind of large language model to write code. If you don't understand if you couldn't write that yourself,
right. That's where I was about to go. If you couldn't write it yourself, don't ask ChatGPT to write it. If you're using ChatGPT to save time, that's great. If you don't actually understand what the script does,
I do.
Absolutely don't use it.
For me, I do. For me, I do. I read the script, I understand everything, and the best part of ChatGPT, it explains everything after it writes the script too.
That's don't read that explanation.
Yeah, but the explanations
shouldn't be any kind of.
Yeah, I know, but for me, it's just because I want to save time. I just don't want to spend hours writing an if statement that is this long. I'm like, no. For the Nvidia drivers, I needed to write if all these packages exist, then remove it, and then dev null, send the error to dev null. Don't show it to the user, whatever. I know how to write that, but I just didn't want to type all this in a script. I just told ChatGPT to do it, and I was like,
yeah, I mean that's fine. Like my scripts that I typically write, I would say I rarely write anything longer than about 50 lines of bash. But even that, I'm going to spend, even with no errors, I know exactly what I want to do with the script. I'm going to have to spend at least 15 minutes typing that thing out, formatting it, making sure I indent in the right spaces. Yeah, asking ChatGPT to write something simple like that, as long as you can actually verify that it did what you asked it to do and it's the right code. Yeah.
And the best part of ChatGPT is it's conversational. So you tell it to do something, then you tell it to modify that thing.
It's my friend.
That meant more than benefit, but I'm gonna do myself a disservice right now.
ChatGPT is my bestie.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do myself a disservice.
It's my bestie.
Everybody,
I think people need to treat the new language models and ChatGPT. They need to treat it as any other invention that has come along. It is a tool to help us do something, but it's not perfect in itself. So it's like using Google Translate. It gives a rough estimate of what it says, but usually there are some errors in it. And
the fine-grained stuff is more difficult.
Well, I can give you a kind of an analogy because of my music background. Electronic computerized music, I've always complained because of the lack of emotion, right? It can never be like a human being playing, right? And it's going to be the same thing. This ChatGPT thing is going to be fine for some uses, but like asking ChatGPT to write a novel. It can write a novel. Would it be the
feeling,
kind of riveting novel that an actual human being with real emotions could actually put into that thing?
Yeah, it's going to be flat.
No,
it's going to be a flat.
It's going to be
novel.
yeah. It's going to be horrible. Is what it's going to be.
More logical the thing is, better it is at it.
And
Simple
also, when you ask it questions or figuring out something, you also need to keep in mind the Linus Tech Tips van show talked about this a few months ago. It will be it is very confident in its responses.
Oh yeah, the
and
confidence it has with its wrong answers as well.
And if it is very wrong, it will double down on saying. And if it needs to cite something, it will make up
sources.
something and make up a source citing.
This is why educational things. I was going to say educational sites like ZDNet and some of these publications that often put out like technical, like Linux tutorial kind of stuff. Some of these journalistic sites now are leveraging the power of ChatGPT, meaning, hey, we're not writing our articles anymore. We're just using ChatGPT. We give it a topic, it writes the article for us. I don't think that is responsible. Because ChatGPT is not 100% on the facts, right? It does still.
So basically, they took the proofreader's job away from them.
Yeah. I mean, that's eventually going to replace some human jobs, right? Eventually, that's where we're going with this.
And that's what Apple has been trying to do with Siri all along.
One thing I would say is that people tend to trust it a lot, way too much. I've seen on social
people tend to trust things like Wikipedia way too much.
Said this, so it is correct and stuff like that. And
people trust anything on the internet way too, because Wikipedia, I see people cite that as a source, which it's mostly good, like ChatGPT, but it's not 100%. Google is not 100%. People sometimes will take a Facebook post. And cite it as like it's gospel. Because just random person on Facebook said it. It must be true. So
about using Wikipedia as a source, I used Wikipedia as a source all the time when I was in school, but mainly because it was the most easiest source for something I already knew, and I was just throwing bull.
But how long before Wikipedia is being written by ChatGPT or OpenAI?
Probably is right.
What Wikipedia is integrated in ChatGPT. Half the answers it spits out are almost word for word what you'd read on Wikipedia.
Copied into it because why not? It's
the largest database of information probably as far as
information.
And the creators of ChatGPT think by giving it an option where it apologizes in case you tell it that it's wrong, and it apologizes and says sorry for my mistake and everything. If you give it like that, it's going to be more trustworthy. Well, for normal users, they will trust it more, but for the smart people, they will trust it less.
Why? That's actually why it was. That is actually thing. That's because it's a pattern we humans do. Simple as that. That's based on data it has. It's a pattern that if you're wrong, you're gonna apologize. That's the pattern. They have
another thing.
Only things they actually added in are guards against certain questions. Everything else you see, whether it is apologizing, whether it is doing something, it's all on its own calculations. Because
I don't want to be.
We apologize if we're wrong, or we tend to apologize when we're wrong. So it will copy that because that's what is in its data set.
So the way it reads it is, if human is wrong, human will apologize. If not wrong equals. So it's basically binary version of feelings.
It's no, it's not a binary version of feelings. It's called hard logic.
I can't wait till the day ChatGPT says, "You owe me an apology." like demand, like what are you, my girlfriend?
Probably happened already. Happened already.
It's generally immoral. It doesn't think in our moral terms. It just gives you the answer.
It has no feelings. It's pure hard cold logic. Nothing else.
And jobs are already being lost.
Wait a minute. Excuse me, Big Pod. You're telling me it's Spock?
Spock?
No, not even that.
Because he's logic. Logic, Spock.
No, it's much more logical.
Go ahead, Murray.
That's logic.
Jobs are already being lost through it. There's a photographers was going to get a woman with a wreath of roses on her hair on a beach. It would have cost $100 for the roses. So they did $10 to AI generate the image. She didn't have to hire a model to go on the beach and do anything. He just generated it in shop. Companies are doing their advertising now without humans on it.
Yes, but that should clean up.
Also, Drake, the artist, they did an AI. They cloned his voice and generated an AI song from it, and most people like it as well or better than his existing work. There was a
well, that probably says a lot about his existing work. Then.
Exactly. I was going to say
I'm going to say it this way.
And they cloned a girl's voice, and they used that to extort the parents in it. That was done in Texas a couple of months ago on it. So it's
I can do that.
My sister did it yesterday, and she used Morgan Freeman's voice. She sent me a message using Morgan Freeman's voice. It was like,
AI
"Hey, Steve, how are you?"
With AI,
she lowered her voice by about 2 octaves.
but normally that's actually, especially on languages that have phonetic alphabet, that's essentially getting, I believe, 3 hours of video, cutting it up to letters, and you can get basically almost any voice.
Oh, there's a company that's
synthetic. How's it called? I can't remember the exact word, but synthetic voice concatenation abilities. It's really easy to
but there's a. Did you hear about the company whose whole purpose is to their service is to clone voices?
Sure.
Yeah,
you give them a snippet of your voice.
That's going to be a normal industry going forward. That's going to be. Mary brought up something really important. Because I know a lot of people in our chat, in the YouTube chat especially, a lot of you guys do a lot with graphics, art, design. When he's talking about photographers and image creators, things like that. If you're somebody that creates artwork, or I don't know, YouTube thumbnails, YouTube headers, book covers, posters, things like that, a lot of that work will be replaced by this new technology.
You just gave me an idea there, DT. I don't want to work on my thumbnails anymore. I'll call ChatGPT.
Hey, that's coming. A lot of the people that make a living right now doing those jobs on Fiverr, they're going to be out of work soon.
Yeah.
So
putting
that out there.
Language translators will be out of work soon. Somebody did a query for obscure Bangladeshi dialect. It said, I don't understand it. Came back the next day and it understood it. It taught itself how to learn the language, and they don't know how it did it. It did it on its own. It does that with math as well.
It asked another AI. They got together.
So AI talks to AI.
No, it doesn't.
I want to see the conversation between AIs.
Oh, it's going to happen. Chat GPT.
Things happened like that, and it was actually scary.
Also, it had some lawyers. GTP3 did as well as 10% of the lawyers. GTP4 did as well as 90% of the lawyers. And
there has been some concern that ChatGPT could help people pass a bar exam and get a license to practice law without really knowing the law. That is dangerous. Because I mean,
I'm not sure.
You would hope your lawyer actually knows the law if he's representing you.
It's like sending Ernest to be a lawyer.
In some ways, I think that the idea of bar is not.
GTP5 is going to have video input where we don't have it now on it. So it's going to change. Also, I think the new version of Bard works with 21 different computer languages now, and it can translate between them on it. I feel as a developer, I'm obsolescent. I'm becoming obsolete. I'm sure within 5 years, coders will be gone.
No, you're not.
No.
Oh no.
Let's first be clear.
There's already one that used Python to generate an entire website.
Great.
Just the other day.
Great. That happens. That will happen. This is the first craze. This is This is where we're now.
We're just starting.
In years, we're gonna go like this in the usage. Then in 2-3 years, it's gonna go like down. It's gonna stay here. Most people,
it's going to depend on the complexity.
Jobs will get them back. Let's be clear.
Yeah, but
the more complex a project is, the more humans are going to have to be involved. You can't just let the AI control the whole thing.
The few jobs that will have better future because of AI is programming. Why? We're going to still have to read that code. Because reality is...
And you can't have a single point of failure. Like if you had a very large website just maintained by AI, well, that is a bad single point of failure. If the AI ever gets anything wrong, or
or it goes down, what happens if ChatGPT
well, nobody else understands any of the code, right?
8 million of us is one of it, right?
Programmers will still have a job.
Yeah, programmers aren't going anywhere.
Nobody will fully trust AI.
There's something even more worrying. Since I am into movies because of my background, I've seen you heard what an experimental film is. It's a very short experimental film by a director experimenting with ideas.
Sure.
Someone created an experimental film using OpenAI, and where he shows us where OpenAI is. It's a 16-minute thing where he shows you if it continues. He says if it continues on this route, this is what will happen. We will be like.
See you, Stefan.
Yeah.
They were. You will be able to talk to your dead loved one, because they will be able to AI generate your loved one and generate their voice and their physical grimaces and how they move. And
well, at some point you'll be able to upload all your memories into the thing. So then
Robin Williams movie,
right? I mean,
but that film scared the daylights out of me.
Most of people generate enough of digital trace that you can replicate up.
But it scares me. Like right now, it's not prominent, but in the future, it, like you said, Big Pod, when it reaches the highest point, this is what the peak. This is what will happen. So people will try to talk to dead loved ones and whatever, and then it's gonna start going down, maybe. But it's getting to that point. It's scary.
The reality is, it's gonna get a lot scarier. And yes, I'm scared of AI. Yes. Let's be clear. I'm scared of AI.
I'm worried that distro maintainers are going to be obsolete because you just have the AI, build the ISOs and.
Let's be clear.
I wish we become obsolete. I wish we become obsolete because that's less headaches on our shoulders.
Let's be clear.
There's also a vet.
Distros should not exist, including Zero Linux.
There's also
almost anything.
Sorry, go ahead, Big Boat.
Most distros shouldn't exist. That's including Zero Linux, including many other distros, because at the wider point, most distros are defined by the package manager, nothing else. So if there is
it's a different configuration out of the box, but underneath it all, it's all the same.
The only way AI is going to disappear is if it doesn't make somebody money. Once it stops making money.
Because money makes the world go round, eh?
It's already made trillions of dollars for people.
I'm not saying it is going to disappear. I'm just saying if it doesn't make money for people, then it's going to get pushed to the side. So
AI is Pandora's box that cannot be closed.
There is one interesting.
We can just hope that all of it gets out real quick, and that thing that's left in is actually hope.
There is one interesting use case for AI. I've seen in action. It impresses me a little. In 1995, there was a TV series that came out, Space Above and Beyond. It was released in standard definition 480p or something, and it's never been released in HD. Before Christmas last year, someone used AI to remaster. They had the DVD release, which is the highest quality. and they run it through some artificial intelligence programming of some kind. And they made 1440p 2K version of it, and it is really good.
I'm really happy to hear that, because I like watching a lot of older series, from like the 80s or the 70s, and those things are so bad for the resolution on modern TVs, big screens.
Yeah,
and I would love
if they can do that. I want it to upscale and fix Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, but he is very clear. But the one who did this, he is very clear. He did not upscale the resolution. He
remastered it.
Yeah.
I want Mork and Mindy in H. I want Mork and Mindy in HD, please. Mork and Mindy in HD, please.
Fun fact: most anything that was made before, I believe, 95 or anything, or basically anything that was made on tape.
Yeah,
that can be basically. They basically just need to reroll the tape and
rescan
it, and it's gonna be you can make it 8K if you want, because tape doesn't work like pixels, because it's not pixels.
Yeah.
And some of that tape's gonna be really old tape for some of these
tape. Yeah.
I watched. I don't remember which show. Might have been Tron. Like Disney upscaled it, basically went through or rescanned it on the tape. Because I know it was made tape.
But there are also
that was a lot of work.
There are some things that were released in the 1990s that is never going to be released in HD. Star Trek Voyager and Deep Space Nine, where they were filmed, shot on film, but the editing was done on a computer, and it was released in 420p. And for this reason, the Star Trek holders have said that there is no way that they are going to release this in HD, because they had to re-edit everything, and there is a few scenes that they need to shoot again and so on.
One of the most ironic things to me when watching movies or TV series, between if you watch movies from like 90 to like 2005, they're gonna be. Actually, even before, even they don't get rescanned, actually like pretty good quality. Then between 2005 and like I think like 2010 and 2012, they like comparably to that, they're horrible quality, because they're in just the right piece of time that got fully digital, and it got horrible
like the mistake that George Lucas made by shooting digitally the prequels, which he will never ever be able to upscale to any other resolution than the 2K they were shot on. So he's like, you want 4K? I can upscale. He did upscale it to 4K, but the upscale was so shit because it's digitally done.
4 pixels.
It's all pixels. It's like you took a small picture and you made it
4
bigger.
Pixels. Let's color 1 pixel and let's make it 4 pixels. Yay! I can do that.
So,
a lot of it has to do too with the cameras and the type of film, especially older films. The type of film you were recording on, because there are some films that are decades old. I'm not talking about go back to the 60s, 70s, and they just look beautiful to this day. And then there are some films that are just grainy and look like they were shot on your home video camera, right?
Grainy, but noisy, no, because the noise is the analog element of the film. But I can't believe I'm going to say this. If my friend watches this, he's going to be happy. I'm going to see a smile on his face. But the other day, I watched the recommended film by that he recommended it with Charlton Heston. Everybody knows him. It's called Soylent Green.
Yeah.
That film was shot in 1973, but that film was shot on organic film that you can upscale to 1,000,000K if you want.
Looks beautiful.
You watched that film?
Going back a few years earlier, Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey to this day looks gorgeous.
Yes.
It's amazing, and that was in the 60s.
Yeah, once upon a time in the West.
A time in the West. There you go. Another.
I thought you were going to say Once Upon a Time in America.
No,
That's a good
God,
movie
no.
too. Yeah, that's a
Couple
great
of-
I
movie.
remember earlier this winter, I came across a channel that collected old, really old film snippets that has been shot over the years, and they digitized 4K versions of old films that they had in various archives. And one of them was a short film of a couple of minutes shot in 1890 something, and it is in 4K, and it is an impressive quality, which proves that the film is still to this day the highest quality possible.
Watch Metropolis
Yeah.
by Fritz Lang, 1926, shot in 1926, silent film, upscaled to 4K, and it is stunning. But the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing is the original soundtrack was never rescued. So we have snippets of the original soundtrack, and then on top of that, the remaster, like a re-representation of the soundtrack.
There is something to say about the quality of film and even audio as well before the digital age. I know a lot of audiophiles really still love the sound of vinyl.
Yes.
Like, man,
This
Oh, yeah.
organic sound of the vinyl with the clickety
Neil Young,
clacks and the-
especially.
That
Yeah.
that I don't.
My dad is
that
one of
I
them,
don't
not
get.
me.
That I don't get.
you don't
Give me
get
flack. Give me flack. Okay, let me listen to vinyl. I'm like, what is this crackling?
I don't get vinyl like that's.
Some people,
I don't get it.
Some people prefer the analog, and
a lot of
I
people
get
do.
to watching
Yeah,
old movies, but
Yeah, and I also
listening
think that
to
the vinyl
music-
is the only recording format where you can actually hear the dust gather over the years. While
but like I remember I watched I believe like one of those Clint Eastwood Western movies, like not
the spaghetti westerns.
yeah, the spaghetti Western, Italian Western.
Yeah, the spaghetti westerns. They have one thing. They're known for one thing and one thing only: the out of sync audio.
Well, nobody.
Although some of them spoke English, you still had the out of
Yeah.
sync audio. This is their.
Well, Sergio Leone was using obviously American actors, Italian actors. There were some Spanish actors as well. And what he told them is they could speak any language they want. The dialogue, whatever language you wanted to speak it in, fine. We'll dub in the English later.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it weird, is because it's obvious they're speaking a bunch of different languages in that movie.
And
there is
if
another
they
movie,
spoke English, it's still out of sync because the dubbing was bad.
there is another movie that is popular in Norway or in Scandinavia in Christmas time. It is a Cinderella story that was shot in 1973, I believe, in Czechoslovakia. And they used actors from Romania and Czechoslovakia and a few of Eastern European countries. And the actors quite often didn't know the language of the other, and they had the dialogues, and they spoke the languages that they had. And they, at least in Norway, they have this every winter. We have a certain on Norwegian one actor who is dubbing all the characters, but you have the originals. You have the original sound underneath, and
you can hear both. You can hear both the
Yeah.
original, and you can hear one guy dubbing for woman, man, everything.
Yeah. And,
you know, that kind of stuff
I'm really
doesn't.
sad for Germans. They have to listen to dubbed everything.
Yeah, I don't mind those kinds of films where you got a bunch of actors that all don't speak the same language, so you've got to dub it. You just have to. I understand that. The ones that really bug me are the ones where it's obvious all the actors are speaking English, but then they dub it anyway into English, but the English that you're hearing doesn't match the English of the mouths moving.
Yeah.
And it's like that's weird. Like, I can't stand that.
It's
Because it's just it's
Have
close, but it's not quite.
Have a bit of a charm.
I remember the first time. I remember the first time when I 20 years ago I bought the DVD of The Boat. I think is the English title. Das Boot, the submarine movie that was made in the late 1970s. It was shot in German because all the actors are Germans, and I saw it for the first 5 minutes, and there was something wrong with the movie, but I couldn't grasp my head around what was wrong with it. Sometime around the 5 or 6 minutes into the movie, it dawned on me everyone was speaking English, and the reason that and then I heard that all the actors who originally shot the movie in German were I found out afterwards that they were when they were making the DVD version and HD and so on, they rehired all the actors who were in the original movie to record their voices in English, so the movement of the mouth and everything was in sync with the
Dude, that's
original.
bad. That's
yeah.
bad. That's done
That's
the wrong
fun.
way.
Yeah, some of the early films that Arnold Schwarzenegger did, they would dub his voice because he had that thick Austrian accent,
Yeah.
and it looked ridiculous. And then just let the man talk. He's got
Barbarian. One of the famous ones, the Barbarian.
because his Austrian accent is a lot less frustrating to listen to than bad dubbing. Like the dub just drives me nuts.
The dubbing these days is, and I understand why they have to redub, because when you're shooting the movie on location, you get all the sounds and all the cracks and
Certain
all
things you need to dub. Yeah.
you have to redo the audio, but some of them they don't care, they do it half-assed, and
Then it's all about editing. But let's be clear. What's weird to me, because I do know how the industry works.
I do too, I'm in it.
Why the H do they, when they dub, they actually don't take care of the audio? Because the ironic part is they when they dub, go through the same process as they would when they normally edit movies. Why? Because audio is taken elsewhere, and you then add it on top of it. You actually then go and separately add it later and do syncing and all that bull crap.
And today they rely on OpenAI to sync audio to not OpenAI, AI, to AI learning, machine learning to sync audio. What do you think when you select the option in your favorite video editor to sync audio with video? It's AI doing the work.
Yeah,
it's some sort of AI doing the work.
It's some sort of recognition. It's
AI will eventually do all the dubbing for you.
If you play a lot with audio editing, especially the ADR that these movies do, where they have to go back and add in audio later because the audio they recorded was bad, you can tell every time there's a section of a movie where they had to use ADR, where they had to go back, and it's so hard to match audio levels that were recorded in one location, and then you go back and record it in a studio on a regular microphone. Like it never.
Is when watching a movie, you can tell when let's say when they have a phone conversation. You can tell when the sound of the person was done way afterwards, because it feels like it was.
They make it
like
sound so much
not.
thinner that it's coming out of a speakerphone or whatever.
On other hand, when like it's done right after, or like sometimes even during sometimes during the recording of that, somebody do, you can see
they don't
the way
the biggest problem is they don't spend as much on audio quality that they spend on the image quality.
They spend a lot on audio quality. Just that problem is that it's not the problem that image quality comes first. Problem is that most of those edits, most of those ADRs, most of those things come very, very, very late.
Yeah, they come way after the movie was finished. Usually,
I'll give you an example of a perfect sync and remaster and everything. Just watch two of them, basically two examples: Ben-Hur, the latest upscale, and Lawrence of Arabia. Perfect. Everything is perfect. The audio is perfect. The image, the upscale is the rescan, not upscale. Sorry, it's a rescan. Perfect. So, but those they cost multiple millions of dollars to remake.
Yeah, and if we're talking about new movies, because that's a problem with
new movies, they don't put as much.
No, they put. The problem is that if you will actually look at the audio they make during the shooting, they make at the start of the ones that when they know they have to do it. Those it's same with video. Let's be clear. Those are all higher quality. They're well synced, well done. Problem comes when they have to do it at the end because everything has to be rushed. Because sometimes changes happen days before the premiere. Let's be clear. Sometimes changes happen days before.
So some premieres fail,
a day.
But then the final result for the public is better than the premiere.
I can't. I know. I read about a few movies that basically the final copy was made was rendered out hours before premiere.
I think most of us can agree, though. Video is easier than audio in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Like the audio process is a lot harder to nail.
Like, case in point, when I shot the episode with Josh for Zero Talk, that is online for members only right now. But I didn't realize that. But for some reason, OBS recorded my audio, like 50 times louder than his. And I had to split the audio from the video because I didn't record the audio and video separately. So I had to split them apart and then try as much as I can to normalize everything. But no matter what I did, my volume was, because it was so much higher and it wasn't peaking. The thing is, it wasn't peaking. It was showing in the yellow part, but
yeah,
it was when I heard it back, it was like I was screaming and yelling, and the whole neighborhood could hear me.
Pro tip, because I've had this exact same problem before, and what I decided after I had a similar incident, because the editing process took hours for me to try to fix it, and it still wasn't a good finished product. As from then on, anytime I do anything with just me and one other person, make sure my audio and their audio are on two different tracks.
I tried that once with you. It didn't work.
Then it's just all one go. I can either lower mine, raise theirs.
Yeah, I know, but didn't we try it, you and I, once, and it didn't work for me? It did record. It recorded one channel lower than the other, or I mean,
well, it may, but you can always fix that in post, because all you do is throw that in Audacity and raise one track or lower the other.
Please don't mention Audacity in my presence, because Audacity renders my audio into chipmunk audio. I use Ocean Audio. Audacity
whatever it is.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, you can use any audio editor for that. They'll all.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying, but well, that was a thing. But I fixed it in OBS. Now it records normally.
Because it is so frustrating if you do like an hour-long video with somebody and you have to go and clip every single time you speak, they speak, you speak, and raise one, lower the other. You know, it will take hours to do that.
What I did was in OBS, I added a limiter.
Yeah.
So if my voice is too loud above a certain dB level, it will automatically lower.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a sound engineer, and so I do the mixing of the sound at concerts and so on. And we heavily use limiters on
of course.
Particular instruments and all the microphones where people are singing, so they can be up to a certain level, and it will limit to that level.
That's what I did. That's what I did because I got lucky. I got lucky that my dad is a producer. Shut the hell.
No, you don't need a limiter on the drum mic. You can just let him go.
No, but I got lucky because my dad is in the industry. He was like, "Hey, why don't you add a limiter?" I was like, "Okay." No. Because this microphone is kind of weird. Sometimes it picks up too much audio, and I have the tendency of being excited, and I go to the microphone.
And this is one of the benefits of most sound mixers going digital, is that all the faders have individual limiters built into the fader, so you don't.
I like knobs. I like to have.
But you have two kinds of digital mixers. One of where
for the people who don't have money to get those, what do they do? It's too expensive. What you're talking about?
But you have, I have seen those. I think they cost a little money, but there do exist digital mixers where every fader has their own separate controls of.
How much they cost? How much they cost?
more than.
It's going to
a lot
cost
of manager being
a
wrong.
lot.
But even though
A lot of
still,
zero Linuxes, that's what it costs.
But the benefit of a digital mixer is that no matter how they have the physical controls, each fader have their separate limiter and compressors and ambience and so on. Whereas in the old days of analog mixers, you had maybe 4 limiter lines that you could use, and you had to select which microphones or which instruments to put in.
That is true. Ideal with analog, with the old analog from the mixers from the 70s, because that's what we use in the church. Some mixers from the like 70s.
In the previous church, before they went to digital, we used Soundcraft MH3 with 40 faders.
Roland 888888. Remember those? Roland 8888s.
I've heard the name.
Those are 8-track mixers, 8 in, 8 out. They call it the Roland 8888. 888, basically.
I'm going to change the topic.
Please.
We've been called a movie tube.
Yeah, so
we became movie tube.
So let's talk about.
I have a topic.
Let's talk about Distro. Has anyone seen Azure Linux?
Oh, I thought about bringing that up, but I purposely didn't on the stream because I thought at some point Big Pod would bring this up.
What, Azure Linux?
Yes.
What is
Azure
that?
Linux?
I have never heard of it.
Big Pod, explain to us what Azure Linux is and why we should all be running it.
We shouldn't be. It's not for us. Azure Linux is a distribution made by Microsoft based on their CBL Mariner distribution. It's made for specifically their servers in their data centers for their Azure cloud servers.
Microsoft uses Linux.
For quite a while.
Oh they've been using Linux.
Weren't they the ones who called Linux the poison?
No, that was Steve Ballmer in 2002. He called Linux a cancer.
A cancer,
and now they are distributing their own distribution, which is this Azure Linux that he's talking about.
They're distributing CBL Mariner. And based on that is Azure Linux.
But Azure's always been run by Linux, right?
No, that's
talk about hypocrites.
That's actually a misnomer. What Azure, the architecture of Azure is most like hardware. The bare metal OS is Windows. Is a special version of Windows Server.
And it's running WSL
Windows Server 2007.
Right. It's a special version of latest Windows Server. It's made specifically for the task.
But on top, you're telling me it's running WSL on top?
No. There and that then on top has VMs. Most VMs running in Azure are then Linux. Many of them also for their own services around Linux because it's cheaper.
I've never understood this because I see this out in the wild at various places. These companies that set up these Windows servers to run a VM to run Linux. I've never why set up one operating system as a server to run another operating system if you need to run the other operating system.
I know why.
Yeah.
Because Hyper-V is really easy and real nice. Simple as that. Nothing else. Hyper-V. Hyper-V is...
It's just convenient.
Unless you want to go into VMware, you probably want to run Hyper-V.
You could also clone it for backup purposes. If it crashes, then you've got the clone to go to.
Yeah.
On the in the enterprise, if you're not willing to administer a VMware cluster, you're gonna go with Hyper-V. Because what else is out there besides maybe XCP-ng, and even that is a bit iffy. You have enterprise. Then what else remains for them?
But I don't find it any surprising that Microsoft are using more and more Linux, and it's more and more. It's not a lot, but they are more often than before, releasing some of their stuff.
Well, they have to be.
They
have to be more open than before. Everyone else is more
They don't
open than
have-
before as well.
My point is,
Well, they don't have to be, but if they
They
want
are-
to
they are-
remain a
they are-
profitable
they are-
company, they need to.
That is not my point. Because my point is that there is a culture change happening from beneath with the new people rising up to
No, it's-
into position and so on, and they have been exposed to Linux over all these years. And at some point, it's gonna creep up into the management.
So at the end of the at some point in the future, we're gonna have just Linux and Mac OS. Fuck
Yeah.
no.
No. Windows will
No.
remain for Windows will
Yeah.
remain probably for as long as there is Microsoft.
Yeah. I mean, people run software that's been obsolete for decades,
Okay.
right? Like, there will still be ATMs running
be-
Windows 2000, right?
Maybe,
There'll still be
maybe Windows will
POS
have
systems.
a Linux kernel at the base.
No, that won't ever happen. That's one wishful thinking to idiotic thinking.
and it's just going to be Linux and Mac OS. Of all the operating systems you could have put,
Rickbot, I love you. I love you. I got that. But on DVD,
No.
but not on diskette.
Yeah.
not like the two operating systems that come to your mind as being dominant are Linux and Mac OS. Like, really?
We
Mac OS?
already have Mac OS on.
If you'd have
Linux,
said
it's
Chrome
called
OS,
GNOME.
I might have, or any of the mobile operating systems, or even BSD, I might have been. But Mac OS?
Wait.
One of my list of most dominant operating systems: Windows, Android, Chrome OS. Guess what?
Chrome OS?
2 out of
Chrome
3
OS.
run Linux kernel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chrome
but
OS
we
is
have
bigger than
Mac OS on Linux. It's called GNOME.
No, we don't.
No.
So Mac OS,
No.
Chrome OS is bigger than Mac OS,
Yeah.
and that's all Linux.
You know what? I do think we're talking about how Microsoft is embracing Linux and open source a lot these days. Google has done a lot with Linux, obviously, and open source software. Apple, oddly enough, is one, they don't really contribute much to
Nothing.
free and open source software.
No.
And it hasn't hurt them at all.
No.
And that's kind of strange to me. Like, they're kind of
sense.
like the...
Because they're their own walled gardener. They don't have a cloud.
They don't
service.
share. They don't take. They
No,
take,
no,
but they don't
no.
share.
Yeah,
They don't have a
and
cloud
it's to
service.
the
They don't have
I mean, it's to the
open
point
cloud
that
service.
they have on the rules of, at least they used to be the rules on how to get your app, your iPhone app on their store. It cannot be licensed under any of the GPL licenses.
Right, they hate the GPL. The same. That's why they removed the bash shell from Mac OS years ago. They can't have any GPL software on the system.
Since I worked for Apple, I tell you about another rule that a lot of people don't look at for publishing an app on the App Store. It should not connect and handshake with anything outside its own container.
Yeah.
No.
And okay, for the uninitiated, if you download an app, a game, for example, a game that existed for ages on Windows from the App Store.
Angry Birds.
Well, not that kind of game. I'm talking about the big games like
Temple Run.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider, for
People still
example.
play
You
that?
can find it on the
Okay.
App Store. You download it, but did you know that you can right-click any package on any app or game on Mac OS and show package contents? When you look at it, it's wine and a virtual C drive and an executable. So you're running a Windows executable on Mac OS at the end.
Well, yeah, everybody's going to write a game, especially because gaming on Windows is such a... They're going to write it for Windows, so if you can make it...
Run on anything
If you can
else,
make the
you're still
Windows
running
version
the
work on
Windows.
Mac or Linux, or well, why not?
Yeah, but you're still running the Windows. You're still running a Windows executable on all these other.
Yeah, but you
operating
can understand why a developer is not going to want to make a Linux port if the Windows version would
macOS,
work on Linux.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
with all the but I'm
it
just
saves you
saying
time and
that
money.
Don't be surprised if you see an exe file within the within an Apple container.
Makes
thing. There's a
sense.
lot of that on Linux. We have the same thing with Deezer. Deezer being one of the biggest ones. You go to the AUR, you check the PKG build, It's downloading the setup.exe, unpackaging that, and then packaging it up as an Arch package.
Let's be clear. I don't know if this is still the case, but years back when Microsoft first released Microsoft SQL Server, they essentially rewrote enough Windows API calls into Linux syscalls. So basically, a translation layer for enough of the calls so they could run SQL Server.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know if that's still the case, but it used to be the case that they did that because.
I mean, it's kind of been where software has been going. Oh, at least for the last 10, 15 years is we're developing a lot more software now that is cross-platform with the rise of Java, JRE, and you've got your Electron apps and all of these. Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's no longer about the operating system. Now it's about writing your app, and it should run on everything.
Yeah. Operating system should be there because it should be an implementation detail.
Well,
which is why I'm a big supporter of image-based OSs, because it makes it an implementation detail.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody packaged Winamp for Arch on the AUR. But
I bet it's the most popular package in the AUR, Winamp.
That's so much fun to see things like that on the AUR.
Oh, can I get Windows Media Player, please? No, that's
what about Windows Movie Maker?
Ooh,
horrible.
I would like to see that on
horrible.
Linux. Yeah.
Windows
Movie Maker is still, in my opinion, is one of the easiest to use.
I'd rather use Shotcut.
Yeah, but when Windows Movie Maker was implemented in Windows, it was one of the entry points for people to start editing videos and to learn how it is, and then look around to see what else.
But the problem with Windows Movie Maker was the downfall of Windows Movie Maker was its WMV only support.
Right.
WMV, the worst file format in existence. No matter how high quality you render the video, it's got to be more pixelated than the 56K modem.
Yep.
56K modem.
Video on a 56K
I've got
modem,
some old videos I made with it. So.
And one thing I wanted to ask you guys, if you're familiar with this, I made that video the other day. We talked about it earlier, Dark Zero, about Arch, the AUR, and using make package. And I showed a little bit of the /etc/makepackage.conf file where you set your make flags, compiler flags, and all that. And I set it, because it's a 24 thread CPU I have, to -J25, which is typically what I do with the make ops. If I install Gen 2, for example, or an Arch based system, I want to compile using all my threads. And then some people said you could experience performance issues with that, which I've heard from the Gen 2 guys before. Every time I do that, the Arch guys will say the same thing. You shouldn't compile with all your threads, but some people say you can. Some people say you shouldn't. What are your thoughts on compiling with all threads of the CPU?
From a distro maintainer's view, since I build ISOs on using that flag, don't use all your threads, because
I've been doing it for years, and I've never had an issue with it.
The issue you will suffer is nothing big. It's like a lot of stuttering, and sometimes when you're dragging a window around.
Well, I get that I'm going to use all my CPU. I get that.
But it's your computer starts behaving weird. That's why the way I set it is not with the +1 that you said. I just set it to -1.
Yeah.
Actually,
I leave one at least to be able to
save one thread for something else.
Yeah. I would actually say differently. It depends. It depends on all the things. On your CPU, the answer is either 12 or 24, nothing else. For the highest performance, of course, if you're doing other stuff on your computer, meanwhile, you should probably dial it back for two threads, not 1, 2.
And here's the thing. Typically, when I'm compiling software, especially big pieces of software, like if I'm compiling a kernel or I'm compiling a web browser, I'm not going to do that and then start streaming to YouTube or doing something else that would take, that's the only task for that computer that day is to compile that browser.
If it's the only task, it should be
like your
either 12 or
browser, you want to
24
drag it around or something.
For two reasons, but that very depends on the actual program itself, which you're compiling. If the program itself, when it's compiling, it's doing a lot of work on one thread.
And sometimes it causes, if you're doing something heavy at the same time, it might causes it to crash.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, typically I'm not compiling and doing anything else on a computer.
Well, you're talking to a guy
I know better.
Who tried to compile 3 kernels at the same time.
That's the reason 12 is.
And he's gone.
Uh-oh. You see, he should have upped those flags. He should have. He needed more threads.
No, but what I was saying is I dial it down 1 or 2 threads because while I'm compiling, while I'm building the ISOs, I have a VM open to build smaller packages. I need a few threads to be able to build a few smaller packages, like nothing not browsers or anything like Jitsi, for example, or DroidCam, very small packages. But I need those for the VM because I started doing my package builds inside a VM, so I don't. And there's one thing you forgot to mention, the R flag, because this is very, 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 very useful for people who want to keep their systems clean. When you add the R flag, it will use the S flag in your video. The S flag will.
And for those that are, because you didn't mention, with the make package command, there's an R flag.
Yeah, there's an R flag, which what does it do? The R flag, once you tell it to sync and download all the dependencies,
it removes the dependencies.
Right. The R removes them, so it keeps your system clean. But
I didn't mention that. I didn't mention that on purpose. There's several flags with make package, but
you have to study the man page for the make package. I would recommend
because that was again a video for the average user. Yeah. The average user probably wants to leave the dependencies.
No, I don't think so. That's clutter, dude. The average user complains about bloat. That's going to be super bloat.
If they ever update that package, they'll still need those dependencies.
True, true, but the reason it's better to clean it is because if it remains in the cache, sometimes you get conflicts.
Yeah.
I personally built everything in ephemeral containers, ephemeral VMs.
It's like I'm doing in a VM. I'm doing it in a VM. That way I can trash the VM if something happens and do it again.
I will build one thing, trash the VM, build another one.
Yeah, you have time. I don't have time.
No, I don't have time. I don't have time. I have automation.
You just do it all in Docker.
No,
I don't do automation. I like to be more involved. I like to be more involved. It's my thing.
In the distribution that I'm using,
I'm a CXDB guy. Automated.
In the distribution I'm using, Magea, we use eUrt to build as the build system, and this is a change-rooted environment which pulls in all the dependencies and build in the change root, and that way we ensures that all the needed dependency actually is present during build, so that anyone who fetches
when you do the sync with the -s, it will always get the dependencies. But I prefer. It's a preference thing, but I'm mentioning it.
And for Arch users too. For Arch users, you probably eventually, at least once a year, I would suggest, run the pacman command to actually search for orphan packages anyway. Like if it's something that's not really required to be on the system.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, what I do is I clear the cache once a month, the pacman cache once a month. I keep it a month because I build the ISO. I don't want to have to pull the packages over and over and over again because I'm capped on the internet. So I don't want to have to download 3 gigs every time I want to build the ISO. So
I have a local mirror of my.
I wish I knew how to do that.
I personally cache nothing. I don't trust caches.
I clear the pacman cache all the time.
Because I'm a distro maintainer. I need
to clear up any confusion. The way the change root environment that we do, when that installs package, it is completely separate from the system's packages installation. So
that's one way of doing it. That's another way of doing it. I do it via VM because I know QEMU, I know Vert Manager, and I can trash the VM when I want to. But plus, I do other testings in the VM. I need a desktop environment. I do other testing, like I test because Zero Linux has separate RICEs that you can install to change the look and whatever. I just spent a week updating those RICEs because they were so out of date and broken. I did that all in that VM that I used to build on, and then I trashed it and I created a new one.
Have you thought about just having a dedicated server for building your packages and automating the process?
Yes, it's still in the shop. I by the way, I closed the shop because economy is so bad.
Right, business wasn't good.
Yeah, I had 3 customers in 2 years. So it's not just a storage place, but I need to bring the desktop that is downstairs. I'm gonna turn into my dedicated build machine. It's a pretty powerful build machine. It says Intel Core i7 6800K.
How many packages do you maintain?
600
yourself. 600, yeah. That's not too many.
That's not too many for a small distro like Zero Linux.
Right. Especially if you're not compiling anything crazy.
No kernels. No kernel. I don't.
No kernel, no browsers, no LibreOffice, nothing like that, right?
The biggest thing I compile is Calamares.
But that's not bad.
Literally 2 minutes to build.
But that's not because I maintain my own Calamares too. I think in my repo, even though nobody's ever seen it. It takes what?
2 minutes.
60 seconds.
Yeah, 2 minutes for me. But
the biggest one
that's the biggest thing I maintain.
The biggest one I maintain is UFO AI. It's a game. The source packet is 1.2 gigabytes.
No, I take that back. The biggest thing I maintain is the Qt6 WebKit.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
maintain Qt6 WebKit because I need it for a package that I have on my repository. I maintain that package, and that takes an hour to build.
Yeah.
There is one package, however, that takes 2 hours to build, not because it's a big package. It's because what it does. Because recently we updated to a brand new look on Zero Linux using the Capuchin look. As a result, I'm using the Capuchin cursors, and to build that package, what the PKG build does from the AUR is it has a script in it, the build.install or whatever thingy. Is there's only one color variant in existence, but what it does is it opens that neutral color one in Krita in the background. You don't see Krita; it just runs without a UI. It's a scripted Krita thing. It's a Krita script. Inkscape. Inkscape script that opens the cursor, applies a color scheme to it, and makes the other 26 color schemes before it builds the package. That's why it takes long, because Inkscape color build, Inkscape color build, Inkscape color build.
I remember, I think it's 22 years ago now, in 2001, I got a second computer, so I installed I had Windows 2000 on that, so I installed Red Hat 7.1 in the old computer. That my intention was to use it as a server and testing and so on. So I ran Red Hat 7.1 on that for a few years. But I remember there was some package that I needed to install, and I compiled everything because some people on RSC said that this was the best for the system. So I did that. And it needed a newer version of Qt. So I went to the Qt. So I went to the Qt website and fetched the tarball and compiled it. And I remember it compiled for 12 hours until it was finished.
Lord.
And after that, the package that I was originally trying to compile worked, and I used it for a few years. And so I commented on the IRC channel that I have installed the new version of Qt. And then someone asked why I didn't install the RPM file. They have
Right.
And my
Yeah,
they have RPM
They
file.
had the RPM file.
Yeah.
And then
Why are you compiling when there's a binary, right?
The RPM file, the RPM link was on the same page as the source file, and I didn't see it.
Man, I get these kinds of comments all the time because people see me on video using the Brave browser, which is in the AUR, but there are
Why isn't it on the mainline Arch repositories?
They're eventually going to. It's the most popular program on the AUR. Brave is. They'll eventually move it to the core repositories.
Like today, Mango Hut moved from the AUR to the extra repositories.
Yeah. But people will see me using Brave, and it's in the AUR, and they go, "Yay, Brave!" Which, if you do that, that's Brave compiling for 8 hours. It's brave-bin for the binary package is what you want, right?
Yep. I fell into
Do
that
not
hole.
compile
I
Brave.
fell into that hole when I was compiling Chromium. They were told me, "Hey, you have Chromium-bin, right?"
Because I got so many comments, especially when I first switched to Brave, and telling people about it. They went and tried to install it from the AUR, and they were sending me messages. I started compiling at 8 o'clock this morning. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. It still hasn't finished. It's like, man, you installed the wrong package.
Yay, Chromium. You're doing a great job at compiling.
Yeah, I stopped. By the way, announcement. I stopped using Brave because I started using Brave for a month because I took a stand against Vivaldi. I was like, Vivaldi not on iOS. Me no use Vivaldi on Linux. So I told Vivaldi about this. I tooted at them. I was like,
tooted.
Browsers on iOS are Safari.
Yeah,
but sometimes it's nice to have the same browser on all platforms.
Yeah, I deleted
the sync and
yeah. I told them I deleted Vivaldi from my system because the iOS version has not come yet. So I refused to use Vivaldi at all. They were like, "Did you know that iOS is coming soon?" They sent me a link that subscribe to get notified when iOS version is released, and 2 weeks later there's a beta on iOS that I'm using today. No. Vivaldi's back on my system.
That's all we needed, just the Mac version, the iOS version.
The iOS version of Vivaldi.
Speaking of
crashes every time, but it exists.
Yes. Speaking of the repositories and the bins and AUR and all that, I was real impressed with how well the migration went from the SBN to the Git and the instructions that Eric Dubois had. Now the Arch wiki was a little vague on telling you to merge.
As always.
The Pac-Man comp and all that.
They don't talk to the normal people.
Yeah, but Eric Dubois made a video and it worked pretty well.
Yeah, what I did was I updated my tool. I added a button. You click on it, it will rename your existing pacman.conf to pacman.conf.x or whatever.
Okay.
And then it will pull the one from my GitHub and the updated one from my GitHub, which is the same, just minus the community repo.
I also accidentally found a wonderful command. It's an alias of Eric's and Arco, is mirror XX.
Yeah, to update the mirrors.
Wonderful. It finds the fastest ones.
Yeah, actually, he has another alias called RAM.
No, Mirror XX is better than RAM. I used RAM for a while, and Mirror XX found the fastest ones.
I know, but I'm just telling you that he has RAM that I copied from him that uses rate arch mirrors from the AUR, which we both maintain each on our separate repositories. But always use the reflector command because the reflector command works 10,000 times better than any rate arch mirrors package will.
Yeah. The problem is the Manjaro users, I don't believe, can use reflector.
No, they can't.
I don't think they package that.
No, not only that. And the migration thing didn't affect Manjaro because they have their own repository.
They have their own.
Yes. And I thought, and at the back of my head, I was like, would it affect the Steam Deck? Because I have a Steam Deck and they use Arch. I was like, oh no, it's not going to affect the Steam Deck because Steam Deck, they have their own repositories.
They're rebuilding everything anyway.
First of all, it's image based, so
yeah,
who cares? You're going to get the image in in
Yeah,
2
it's
weeks.
it's a immutable file system.
Yeah.
So anyway.
In the
It's
YouTube
not
chat,
immutable.
so
It's not immutable. Probably it's probably image-based difference.
yeah.
Between
I did want to mention in the
immutable,
YouTube chat,
right?
Darth Vader in the chat was saying on Gen 2, every time you do an update or change a use flag, it always tells you to remove orphan packages. Yeah. Actually, a lot of distributions do that. Debian does that as well. The apt
Arch
package
doesn't.
manager tells you
Arch
to
does
auto
not.
remove. Yeah. Why
Arch
does
does
Pac-Man
not?
not?
Why?
It's
does
one of the
Arch
ones
not?
that doesn't. Yeah, it's
Every
weird.
time I ever removed orphans in Debian or Ubuntu when it told you to, like using top grade,
Auto remove.
auto remove. It totally borked my system every time.
Really?
I had the same experience. I had the same
Nvidia,
experience.
if there was any Nvidia in the auto
Oh,
remove,
yeah.
that was
totally
for a bit,
wasted.
yes. That was for 1 bit because yay drivers.
I mean, you should, and this is for all Linux distributions, you should never just blindly remove the orphans without reading the list that it's going to remove. Because I've had situations, I know I've had situations before where Ubuntu removed the entire desktop environment.
Oh yeah,
as an orphan package.
Same here.
It's like okay.
Good thing it happened in a VM. I was trying to compile some sort of Nvidia driver, not the TKG one, some other one from the AUR. I was trying to package that. I did the RSI, so remove, sync, and install. It removed the whole desktop environment.
Yeah. It happens.
I was like, what the
It
fuck?
happens.
What the hell just went? Because one of the dependencies.
But honestly, you can't get mad at that.
Desktop environment.
You can't get mad at the distro for that, because at the end of the day, it told us exactly what it was going to do, and we still clicked OK and did it.
That's why I like image-based systems. Because
but you're not. It's like I have the Steam Deck as an image-based system. All right, and the thing is,
Steam Deck is an appliance. Different than what?
No, it's still a desktop. I'm using it as a desktop as well. So
yeah, you're using what their image. You're using an appliance that's not meant to be that. Let's be clear, it's not meant to be that. So yes, it won't work as you want it to work.
Yeah, it uninstalls every time there's a major update. It removes everything. I don't have a desktop anymore.
There is one difference between image-based and normal distros.
Normal. Shots fired.
And that thing is that you cannot modify at runtime unless you disable. And that's the only thing. You have same amount of control if you can make the image.
But here's the thing. Chimera OS is a desktop. It's a desktop operating system that now also runs on the Steam Deck and has the Steam UI, what have you. So I don't get it. So it's confusing. It becomes confusing when you meld two things into one. It becomes confusing.
What is confusing there?
It also runs on the Steam Deck. So if it also runs on the Steam Deck, it has a Steam Deck based UI on top of it. So people are going to use it on the Steam Deck as a desktop, and they're gonna get confused. And
okay, you can install whatever you want on Steam Deck. Okay, yeah,
but this one it's not immutable, so you have full control over your Steam Deck.
But you get SteamOS. If you go out of your way to remove SteamOS, then you're in uncharted territories. And
but I'm saying for the regular users,
problem.
Because a lot of
regular user won't do that.
Yeah, regular users are using the Steam Deck to edit their videos.
Not regular.
Heck, regular users won't do that. I wouldn't do that. And I'm a nerd. I would never buy a Steam Deck and then wipe the OS.
Talk to Zany. Talk to Zany.
I wouldn't do that.
Talk to Zany. Talk to Zany. Zany does his streaming from the Steam Deck.
He is not a regular user.
That's like people ask me why I don't root my phones and wipe out the operating system on my phone. I wouldn't have paid all that money for that phone if I was just going to then break it.
Why would I buy that phone for that much money?
I would have went a different route if that's what I wanted.
Makes no sense.
Do people make sense these days?
No.
No.
Most don't.
No.
At least on the internet, they don't.
Like people come to my server on Discord, and it's clear what each channel is made for. Linux chat for Linux chat, for ABS support for ABS support. I get Zero Linux support and Linux chat and ABS support.
Yeah, you get
They
cat
don't even read
videos
the
in
name
the
of the
support
channel.
channel, and you know.
But
The name of the channel they
People
don't
don't read. That's a different problem.
But going back to installation and removing packages and so on, there's one thing that always annoys me when I see guides meant for normal users or new users on how they should do things. Often they would tell them how to use a Debian variant like Linux Mint or something, and then they have an apt command in order to install something. And they many of the guides adds the -y command that will automatically answer yes.
Oh
to
yeah. The aliases with the -y included.
Yeah, so
That's a problem.
I always get annoyed by that. It always annoys me when I see that, because it removes any ability the user has to stop it and understand what it is doing.
Yeah,
you know, I do a lot of command line videos, and I almost never show the -y flag on things like REM, for example, or MV, or like I don't want. Not that they're not important, but I don't want just like normal users to blindly go and
I don't alias anything with -- no confirm, because
I've never showed the yes command. Great command line program, yes, but you shouldn't just pipe anything into yes.
No.
Yeah.
And just
never do it locally on your system if you want, but don't do it for as a distro maintainer. Don't do it to users, because I've had the experience where a user tried to remove one package because there was no -- no confirm. It nuked his system. So I was like, -- no confirm, -- don't use.
Well, it happens. We're getting close to the end of our time here, so let's get a last word from everybody. Yep, Dad. You want to give us some wise words to live by?
Yeah, make sure you keep the tree rats out of your car.
The tree rats?
Yeah, squirrels.
Oh, okay.
I had one drop a walnut in on the manifold, and it couldn't get it out, so it chewed through 2 of my injector wire sets and my map sensor. Chewed them off flush. I had to take everything apart, soldered wire. Yeah, it was a mess. So watch out for the tree rats.
Yeah, I've never heard of a squirrel damaging a car like that. You must have hit the lottery on that.
Oh, I did. I parked under their favorite tree when I was mowing.
You horrible person.
Yeah.
Well, is your insurance going to take care of squirrel damage? I don't know what their policy on that would be.
I'm the insurance. I fixed it.
You're the insurance. Yeah.
I fixed it. It's running great now.
Yeah. That would be a strange conversation to call your agent and like, hey, a squirrel.
Yeah.
Totaled my car.
Yeah. For 2 days, I was running like 7,000 RPM just to get up to 60 miles per hour.
Wow.
Because I couldn't see that they chewed through the injectors. I could only see that they chewed through the map sensor.
Not a good time.
Yep, but I got it fixed, so I was happy as hell yesterday. So we did the 0 AD marathon on Zany's Discord server, and we were
one day I'm gonna have a marathon
5:30 in the morning.
I'm gonna run that marathon for 4 days straight.
No, we're gonna do a gaming community stream one day soon, because I've been thinking about it. We need to all invade like a Xonotic server or a Sauerbraten server or something. And
Xonotic, I'm in.
Get about FPS, 60 people FPS, in a game, and
I'm in.
Right.
If it's an FPS, I'm in.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out with us, Hip Dad. Dark Zero, give us a last word.
I have one that is going to be a doozy.
All right.
Maintaining a distro is an ongoing battle. Cannot satisfy anyone, devs and users alike. We do our best while maintaining neutral ground. Even then, there will always be those who are never satisfied with negative views. I will always do my best to keep things balanced. turning a deaf ear to those trying to cause disruption. I will listen to user input, but ultimately the final decision will always be mine and mine alone. No one knows my strengths or weaknesses better than I do. Keep that in mind. We are doing this for free in the end, and we are not paid nearly enough in donations to satisfy anyone. Remember that. We are not working for anyone.
You know what? You look like an evil dictator doing that just now.
Yeah, that's the point, because I'm really pissed. I've been pissed for the past month. So I'm getting this. The reason I read it, because I don't remember it from the top of my head.
Right.
But it's a message that I want to get out there. We're not working for anyone. We're doing this for free. So we do try to listen to you users, but when
I'm glad you put that out
requests, deaf ear.
Yeah, and we often many of us, many of those who do this voluntary packaging and so on, we don't do it always as a service to other users. We do it because it's what we like to do.
It's for learning. It's for learning purposes. Most of the reason I do Zero Linux is for learning and growing and enjoying something. I've never had the need to boot into my Windows install. I've had that Windows install dormant in the background for the past year and a half, and I'm doing this, and I'm sharing my work, and I am very open-minded to everyone and anyone on the server, always trying to help. But some people come to the server with animalistic requests, like, do this that way. If you don't do it that way, you're not worth calling yourself a distro. So
yeah,
MS-DOS.
MS-DOS.
You know what? That was a great thing there that you read, Dark Zero. It sums up exactly why I've always said I don't want to maintain a distro, and people think that's weird. And it's like, no, that's not weird. It's like I don't want, like I really don't want that headache.
I chose to dive into this headache, that headache, because people showed love. They kept telling me, beautiful work. Why don't you share it? Beautiful work. After a year of hearing that, I succumbed. And I was like, and people
what they do is they wear you down. They wear you down until finally you agree to do what you didn't want to do in the first place. And once you get started, then you hate yourself for falling into that trap. Right?
I don't hate myself because it's paying the bill. It's paying the bill. Right. Thanks to all who contribute to my Ko-Fi. But come on, you request like you own the project. Like you put $10,000 in stake. You have $10,000 at stake, and I'm not replying to you. No, I do my best when I can, but stop pushing me around like you own me. That's what I meant with all this. And they always come and yell at me because they disagree with a decision I have taken. It's my distro, my decision. Sometimes I do take decisions that you won't agree with, but it won't change my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they don't like the way you handle
there's
things,
a million distros out there.
Yeah, so if they don't like the way you do it, then they can fork it and do.
The code is on GitHub. I tell them my code is on GitHub. Fork it and go do your own thing. I even go to the length of telling them, I will help you. I will guide you. I will show you how to do things and after you fork it. But nobody wants to put in the work. I tell them you will have to do this, and that. They say, oh no, we quit, because they're not willing to put in the work to create something they prefer over mine. So they force me to do it for them. I was like, donate, show me, then I'll do it for you. But they won't.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Dark Zero.
I told you it was going to be a doozy.
All right, Big Pod, give us the rocket on the way out.
No rocket.
No rockets.
Maintaining distros is hard. That's first of all. Second, in next couple of weeks, I'm gonna be making a few videos on my channel, youtube.com/bigpod, where I will be doing stuff. One of the videos that I wanna showcase is I'll be making a video about why image-based distros are just as open for configuration as normal distros.
I would watch that. But by the way, Big Pod, I watched the whole entire 6-hour stream with you and Josh, where you killed my distro in the beginning.
Yeah, that was fun.
Thanks for that.
Those Josh's things.
Don't take it personally.
No, but Big Pod
special.
mentioned something very important during that stream. I was forcing users to opt out of the auto login in Calamares.
Right.
It should have been an opt in, not an opt out.
Yeah,
That's been fixed.
good. Security.
No, really cool. Anything else, Big Pod?
No, not at this time.
All right. Thanks for being with us today. Soul Blue, you have a last word for us?
Yeah, so I mentioned that I'm doing packaging for Magea. We are in a beta release for version 9, which is if everything.
They just released it, didn't they? The beta.
Yeah, the beta is 1 or 2 weeks old, and so the final version is in June or July sometime. So
okay, very cool. Anything else for us?
Live long and prosper.
I like it. And I'm really happy you mentioned Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which earlier you mentioned Deep Space Nine. That's definitely the best Star Trek of all the series. I think we all agree.
Yeah, my favorite is Voyager, and I'm rewatching
Voyager. Oh, that was my least favorite, probably.
No. Deep Space Nine is the best one because the story you follow each episode after another.
So we went from movies to TV series. Chat's gonna get angry at us again.
I want to say Picard season 3, best season of any TV show.
Yes,
in existence.
Yes.
All right.
Agreed.
So, no spoilers. All right, Murray, are you there? Would you like to give us a last word, sir?
Yes, a bit more on AI.
Yeah, go ahead.
A fair bit of time in it. Just recently, a family had problems with their dog. They didn't know what was wrong. They took it to the vets. They couldn't find the solution. They took it to ChatGPT, and it diagnosed it and found the solution for them. The vets maybe see a few thousand cases. ChatGPT probably sees 1 million cases, so it's got the patterns. Also, the Sony had a photo contest, was won by an AI generated image. They confessed to using an AI to create it on it. And I've been using it for looking at coding with it, and I did a bit of things. I create app images, so I told it to create an app image that prints hello world in the terminal. Did it perfectly, did 14 steps, walked you through it, created the .desktop file. It even did a wget to download the binary to compile the app image for you. So it did pretty well. I also took an arbitrary Rust
bucket?
Yeah, Rust bucket. Rust code, and pasted it in, tell it to generate in Python, and it did that for it as well. I don't like coding GUI apps like Derek doesn't like it either, I understand. So I use PySimple GUI.
I don't mind playing with some like GTK and Qt stuff, but yeah, it's not something I'm really passionate about. No,
it's tedious, and you have to line things up in the right places, and it's not. So I use PySimple GUI instead of PyQt6 on it. So I told it to generate in PySimple GUI a list of major Canadian cities with a clickable column header that toggles sort alphabetically ascending and descending, and it did it. I didn't have to tell it what a major Canadian city was. It gave me a list of 20 of them automatically on it.
Nice.
Cool.
And I did new shell, list files in the current directory, sort by size, show file name only without the path. Almost did it. It used a quote file with a capital F. If it used a lowercase f, it would have worked. But this is 2021 with GPT-3. So it probably by now would probably work on it. So you can use it if you can't find code in Python, you can search other languages and see if you can find a function in another language and use GTP to convert it to Python in there on it. And the last thing, there's 2 people who know a lot about AI. One is Max Tegmark. There's a YouTube video about an hour and a half. He's a physicist, and he's had the foundation to delay the introduction of the next GPT versions. And Ian Hogarth invests in companies. They're both really sharp people, and they give you a really good overview of what's happening with it. So that's pretty good. Well, that's about it for me.
All right, good stuff, Murray. Thanks for sharing. And for me, I want to thank you guys for hanging out on camera with me. We had some other folks that were here earlier. I know Stefan had to drop off early. Thank everybody that could be here. Those of you in the YouTube chat, I appreciate you guys hanging out as well. Other than that, I'm going to show some names here on the screen. Oh, I'm going to show some of the patrons that couldn't be here. This is a list of all the patrons. Thank each and every one of those fine folks as well. And other than that, let's all wave bye to YouTube.
Shut